Oh, hi. So what's new? I don't want to minimize my gratitude to you for the kind of support that's usually reserved for, like, Chilean miners. I'll be talking about it and the issues and the rest of my little adventure later in the show, but I need to address one thing right now. I read in a couple of places that this has to have been a publicity stunt. This was not a publicity stunt. Of course, if I had known that all this would happen, I would have done this years ago! Good evening from New York. This is Tuesday, November 9th, 728 days until the 2012 presidential elections. President Obama spent the night in the world's largest predominantly Muslim nation, Indonesia. This leg of his 10-day Asian tour cut short, though, preventing him from visiting the homes where he lived between the ages of 6 and 10, or the schools, Catholic and secular, which he attended. But in our fifth story tonight, even though the trip will advance U.S. economic interests and cooperation in the fight against terrorism, Mr. Obama came under fire here at home for failing to use anti-Islamic rhetoric. The trip cut short to prevent the airborne volcanic ash of Mount Merapi from interfering with Mr. Obama's takeoff for the G20 summit in South Korea. Indonesia, of course, has been a target for Islamic terrorists who struck in Bali and Jakarta in the years after 9/11. And the president, who has disappointed some in the Muslim world by doubling down on Afghanistan, made the argument to Indonesian Muslims that he still believes the U.S. is on the right path to eliminate some of the mistrust that still remains of the U.S. Of course, Obama's boyhood years in Indonesia gave fodder for those claiming he is a Muslim, despite the fact that his first school there was named St. Francis of Assisi. Cutting to the chase, of course, underlying these specific criticisms of President Obama is the allegation that he is secretly a Muslim, that his secret Muslim faith is part of a plan spanning generations and continents, a plan to put a secret Muslim in the White House to carry out the secret Muslimizification of America. We at Countdown were intrigued by these allegations and shocked, I tell you, by what we found when we looked carefully into them. As you will see in tonight's special report, it all began when Obama's Muslim father seeded his son with Islaminess. The Muslim-seeded toddler engineered the divorce of his own parents to prevent people from learning that his father was Muslim. In his book, Obama claims that by then his father was no longer Muslim, instead portraying him as something much more popular with Americans, an atheist. Obama still claims not to know whether his grandfather was Sunni or Shiite, but he sure looks sunny. To keep up appearances, Obama cleverly violated his Islamic faith whenever he could, fooling everyone by never going to Mecca, breaking the fast of Ramadan, eating pork, drinking alcohol, having a Christian wedding, baptizing his children, worshiping at Christian churches for decades. He only faces Mecca from way downtown. Bang goes the dynamite. He even sent his daughters to a school, a fancy Washington school that was really a madrasa, a fancy Washington madrasa. He never had a beard, except for the Jewish people he cleverly picked out to carry out his secret Muslim agenda as White House Chief of Staff and Supreme Court Justice. The plan was working perfectly, but there were clues for those willing to do the incredibly hard work of seeing them. As a radical Muslim youth, he ran an Islamic journal whose Arabic name translates as Harvard Law Review. Islam permits men to take a number of wives, and that's exactly what Barack Obama did. The number he picked was 1, and a woman with an Arabic name, Michelle Robinson, who insists on wearing a burqa. His favorite team, the Chicago Bulls, who just happened to play in the same division as the Milwaukee Bucks, whose arena just happened to be known as the Mecca. Coincidence?
Then what about his legislative agenda? He openly practices Chicago-style politics, just like the Taliban does, extending benefits for the unemployed, including Muslims, expanding health care for all, including every single Muslim in the country, unless already covered by employer health care plan. To this day, President Obama continues to refuse to bomb not just one, but many Muslim countries. He even refuses to close his secret tropical paradise safe haven for Muslims, just 90 miles from America's shores. Obama nearly let the cat out of the bag on several occasions, openly attacking a longtime Christian leader, thanking his co-conspirators for keeping his secret secret.
John McCain has not talked about my Muslim faith.
Outlining his dream of an Islamic America.
We'd be one of the largest Muslim countries in the world.
And bragging about how much he's done already.
We are no longer a Christian nation.
There is a mosque in every state in our union.
If few seem to care that Obama is America's first secret Muslim president, it might be due to the popularity of America's first openly Muslim president, who won America's heart by turning the White House into a virtual mosque.
This is the fifth year in a row that it's been my honor to host an iftar in the state dining room.
Revealing how he came to embrace Allah.
The revelation of God's word to the Prophet Muhammad in the form of the Quran.
Using the English word for Allah, God, he talked about the Bush family holidays.
Ramadan is a time of heartfelt prayer and togetherness.
Explained how Islam helps America through tough times.
It's a national and Islamic obligation to assist one's neighbors when they are in need.
And outlined his master plan to make America more Islamic.
I've encouraged American families to host exchange students from the Muslim world. I've asked young Americans to study the language and customs of the broader Middle East.
After getting rid of all the White House Bibles, he proudly announced their replacement.
For the first time in our nation's history, we've added a Quran to the White House library.
So, the big mystery is not President Obama's secret Islamic faith, but why he won't simply admit to being the second Muslim commander-in-chief of the United States of Mecca.
Assalamu alaikum.
Islam is peace.